Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to your fourth Stimulus Survival Check and Stimulus Package Update. On today's video, we'll look at the fourth stimulus checks as well as news for seniors and Medicare. Before we get to all that, here are the quick highlights of President Joe Biden's speeches this week.
Looks like a tornado, they don't call them that anymore, that hit the crops and wetlands in the middle of the country, and Iowa and Nevada, and it's just across the board. And as I said, we're in this together. We are determined that we are going to deal with climate change and have zero emissions, net emissions by 2050. By 2020, make sure all our electricity is zero emissions. We're going to be able to do these things, but we've got to move. We've got to move. And we've got to move the rest of the world. It's not just the United States of America. And folks, the evidence is clear. Climate change poses an existential threat to our lives, to our economy, and the threat is here. It's not going to get any better. The question, can it get worse? We can stop it from getting worse. That's right. And when I talk about building back better, and Chuck is fighting for my program, our program on the Hill, when I talk about building back better, I mean you can't build to what it was before this last storm. You got to build better so if the storm occurred again, there would be no damage. There would be. But that's not going to stop us, though, because if we just do that, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, because the storms are going to get worse and worse and worse. And so, folks, we got to listen to the scientists and the economists and the national security experts. They all tell us this is code red. The nation and the world are in peril. That's not hyperbole. Yeah. That is a fact. They've been warning us the extreme weather would get more extreme over the decade, and we're living in real time now. Let's get this done.
Look at that nice kid with the American flag. Say hello. What's your name?
How old are you? By the way, the neat thing about America, every time we end up with a problem, going into a serious circumstance, we come out better than we went in. That's because we're so diverse. That's America. Yeah. Be proud of it. Thank you.
Great job.
Amen. I didn't get to mention all the names.
While speaking, President Biden started doing it again. You know exactly what I mean. Take a look.
I'm going to be a bit repetitive. The 8-hour day, the weekend, time and a half for overtime, safety standards, sick days, victories for all of us. Because I might add, I notice when you all do that, everybody benefits, whether they belong to a union or not.
Earlier, Joe Biden was scolded by flood victims while touring Hurricane Ida damage in Manville, New Jersey. But according to Joe, he didn't see or hear anyone heckling him.
None of them were shouting or complaining. Every one of them were thanking me as if it was something special. I mean it sincerely, that I was here.
Ruins and leave Americans behind. He will leave you behind.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had an important message to share with regards to all of the natural disasters.
So it's about the future. It's about building back better, not reinforcing the past, but taking us into the future for the children. On another note, as we see the wildfires in the West, we see them at home. The smoke, it's so devastating. As you see the floods of Ida, the storms of Ida in the South and in the Northeast, Mother Nature is not happy with us in terms of how we recognize what challenges face us. Climate crisis is real.
Even though Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is saying the U.S. is on track to default on the national debt in October, President Biden wants you to believe everything is fine and that the U.S. economy is making progress.
We're making progress. Our economy has added 750,000 jobs a month on average during the past 3 months since I've been here. There are more than 4 million jobs since I took office. In the first half of this year, our economy grew fast at a fastest rate in 40 years. Unemployment is down. My Build Back Better investments are going to allow us to keep and progress and move further in the years to come.
Joseph also takes credit for the stock market growth.
We measure for economic growth. By the way, the stock market's gone up exponentially since I've been president. You haven't heard me say a word about it. I'm glad it's gone up, no problem. Look, let me tell you something. My measure of economic success is how families like mine growing up, working families, busting their neck, how they're doing, whether they have a little breathing room.
That certainly sounds great for investors, but also today is the 231st day that Joe Biden has chosen not to cancel your student loan debt, nor send you your $2,000 stimulus check he promised, which could help so many right now. Are you concerned with rising grocery prices? Joe Biden's economic advisor says grocery price increases are more in line with historical norms if you exclude beef, pork, and poultry.
The context here is the appropriate focus on the question of grocery prices and the increase in grocery prices that we have seen recently over the last couple of months. And if we unpack that, one of the interesting findings of the report that we put out today is that about half of the overall increase in grocery prices can be attributed to a significant increase in prices in three products, in beef, in pork, and in poultry. And in beef and in pork, we've seen double-digit increases in prices over the last couple of months. In fact, if you look at the category that is grocery prices, what economists call food at home, so food that is being purchased to eat at home, in a number of areas we've seen, if you take out those three categories, we've actually seen price increases that are more in line with historical norms. And we've seen some categories, for example, fresh fruits and vegetables, prices have actually declined since the end of last year. And if you look at a category of prices like eggs, obviously a similar supply chain, similar input and feed costs to poultry, the price of eggs has actually come down over the last couple of months. The real drivers in these three areas, these three proteins. If you look at that market, the thing that is striking is across beef, poultry, and pork, significant consolidation in those industries. So anywhere from 55 to 85% of the market is controlled by the top four producers in those industries.
Senior citizens in America are already under pressure from other rising, unavoidable costs such as food, housing, and transportation. Now, the Senior Citizens League is working on a campaign to persuade Congress to pass a fourth round of stimulus checks in the amount of $1,400 payments to Social Security recipients only, as they consider these needed checks to be vital. On their petition, the group states Social Security benefits are one of the few types of income in retirement adjusted for inflation. But soaring inflation has taken a toll on household finances of retired and disabled Social Security recipients. In 2021, Social Security benefits increased by just 1.3%, raising the average benefit by only about $20 a month. But about 86% of Social Security recipients surveyed say their expenses increased by much more than that amount. The House Ways and Means Committee released its Medicare expansion bill this week, and it does not include any way to give vision, dental, and hearing benefits to millions of seniors next year. The House version of Democrats' Medicare expansion would not expand dental to seniors until the year 2028, which is 6 years after the 2022 midterm. As such, Senate Democrats are now exploring potential ways to send seniors seniors vouchers worth hundreds of dollars to quickly afford hearing, vision, and dental services sooner. While the potential new piece of Medicare is being implemented, this would offer a stopgap way to get the new benefits to seniors quickly. Discussions range from giving between $600 to $1,000, though the details still need to be ironed out. Basically, they want us to think about this as stimulus checks for dentures. As we've mentioned before, author Paul Krugman said, "Don't let the government get its hands on Medicare or your stimulus checks." Circling back to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she now says that Democrats will not raise the debt ceiling through reconciliation and dares Republicans to block the bill and let the U.S. default on its debt. Watch Nancy Pelosi tout President Biden's Build Back Better plan and wish a Happy New Year.
I'm so excited and so to President Biden for the Build Back Better vision that he has put forth. But what I want people to know is that this bill is for you. If you're a woman with children at home and want to return to the workforce, if you have people with disabilities at home and need home health care, if your children are little and you want universal pre-K, children learning, parents earning, if someone is sick in your family, you need family and medical leave paid, the list goes on. If your family needs economic assistance, the Biden tax credit, but it's the child tax cut, really. It's a big middle class cut in taxes. So again, it's about the children. And I'm so excited as to how transformative it is. Our members, our committees are working feverishly and diligently, some observing, and we respect that and wish them Happy New Year. Others moving forward as others, they take turns, and we will be ready to fulfill the president's vision.
AOC contrasted the costs of climate catastrophe with the benefits of bold action.
Because the question is not if our entire world and our entire society is going to shift because of climate change. It's a matter of how it's going to shift. So basically, if we do nothing to address climate change, we are going to see the continued destruction of our supply chains. We are going to see our crops not be able to grow in the same way. We will see our infrastructure begin to crumble away. We will see the continuation proliferation of other future as well. And so that is how our life could change if we do nothing. It will change dramatically. But it could also change dramatically in a positive direction if we do something. We can create millions of union jobs by rebuilding our infrastructure, shoring up our cities, our rural areas, and our suburbs in order to prepare for the climate catastrophes that could come to our shores, but also draw down our carbon output in order to make sure that we prevent future calamities from happening as well.
Switching gears for a second, it looks like someone over at Fox News is ready to come out of the closet.
Better way than to have fans in the stands for college football.
Yeah, and we're hearing there's a new variant. How do they pronounce it? The Moo variant? The Wu variant? Moo variant. So we're going to continue to see variant after variant after variant. People do want to move on with it.
No one does. We want to be Americans and exercise our freedom like we're supposed to in this great country.
The House Ethics Committee announced that GOP representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Chip Roy have been fined for not wearing masks on the House floor. This is Marjorie's second mask fine, meaning it's up from $500 to $2,500. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki provided her briefing yesterday and could not wait to get out of there.
Qualification requirements are not your party registration. They are whether you're qualified to serve and whether you're aligned with the values of this administration. Thanks, everyone.
A follow-up on the story about Dr. Fauci yesterday in The Intercept, the documents released that shows he was untruthful.
Before hightailing it out of there, Jen Psaki said this.
There will be new steps the president announces tomorrow, absolutely.
Will any of those new steps influence the average American's day-to-day life? Should we expect any new mitigation recommendations, as an example?
It depends on if you're or not.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis shared his thoughts about masks.
Since I've been governor, I think any issue that has any type of and I don't know why the masks have politics around it. Let the parents make the decision that's best for their kids. If you want the mask, do it. If you don't. That's fine. But, you know, we have unions involved, and the same unions that wanted schools closed all of last year. Remember, we were in court last year at this time because they sued me to close the schools. We were getting kids back in school. We understood how important that was for parents and for kids to be learning and all this stuff.
West Virginia's Governor Jim Justice is still losing his mind over masks and...
For God's sakes of living, how difficult is this to understand? Why in the world do we have to come up with these crazy ideas? And they're crazy ideas that got something in it, and it's tracing people wherever they go. And the same very people that are saying that are carrying their cell phones around. Come on. Come on.
On a side note, if anyone sees Rudy Giuliani out there, let him know we found him a love connection. The White House, the Senate, and the House have been working on the details of the $3.5 trillion spending bill, and as always, have many disagreements on it. Senate Democrats are still threatening to vote no to the bill, but some things may have changed just a bit. Senator Joe Manchin may now be in support of the fourth stimulus package, but he will only support it if the price tag comes in between $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion. At most, he's open to supporting $1.5 trillion as a starting point. If you remember, Manchin previously threatened to vote no on the physical infrastructure bill, but then quickly voted yes after his wife's Appalachian Regional Commission received $1 billion. Senator Bernie Sanders insists the Democrats' budget proposal should stay at $3.5 trillion, dismissing Joe Manchin's calls for a lower number. Bernie said that $3.5 trillion is already the result of a major compromise. Circling back again to Nancy Pelosi, she says the House is moving forward with the $3.5 trillion level regardless. The Biden administration also has said they will move forward with the $3.5 trillion regardless of Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema's threats to vote no. Representative Mondiat Jones hopes lawmakers will rise to the moment to do the right thing.
Fix a dollar amount on what the final product should be. But it must meet the moment. And I share the president's optimism that Democrats will once again come together, including Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, and do the right thing, rise to the occasion and meet this moment in which we face unprecedented challenges. That is what we were to do. And I'm optimistic that people understand the stakes, even as they posture for political reasons.
In other news, many are saying that Tesla is the end of car dealerships as nobody can keep up with them. Tesla's insane and super cool laser windshield wipers have been granted by the U.S. Patent Office this week, and Trip Chowdhury explains that other autonomous cars like Waymo look like reindeers compared to Tesla.
But in your software, think about it. People are talking about Waymo as an autonomous car. What does it look like? Do you think you'll have that car in your garage? They look like a reindeer. So basically, when you think about autonomous, it is individual autonomous cars, it is fleet autonomous cars, and then urban density cars. And there's only one company who has the foresight, software skills, and the intellect, and that is Tesla.
You know, it's a great debate.
Don't even come close. Look at your competition you name. Do they have software skills? No. Do they have superchargers? No. Do they have Gigafactory? No. Do they have a backlog?
In cryptocurrency news, on the day Bitcoin was adopted by El Salvador as official currency, its value dropped by 17%. While that swing is far from unprecedented for Bitcoin, it's not exactly the kind of thing citizens want from their new currency. Speaking of, Elizabeth Warren is catching some heat. She tweeted, Bitcoin mining consumes roughly the same amount of electricity as Washington's state putting pressure on our power grids and worsening the climate crisis. We need to protect our planet and crack down on environmentally wasteful crypto mining practices. Elizabeth tweeted this while on board a private jet emitting tons of CO2, which is not sitting well with many folks. If you enjoyed today's video, please feel free to give this video a like by pressing the thumbs up button. If you would like to see more updates like this, then subscribe to this channel by clicking the subscribe button as well. That's the latest and greatest stimulus check and stimulus package updates for today. As always, I truly appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope to see you soon. Have yourself a fantastic day and take